Hi everyone, I'm Yuki, and today we are going to be doing an in-game viability tier list for Pokemon Crystal, specifically Crystal. And to very quickly just kind of sum up what an in-game viability tier list is, we're going to be taking a look at all the Pokemon in Pokemon Crystal, specifically the final evolutions, because, like, come on, if you're going to use a Pokemon, you're going to fully evolve it, like 99 times out of 100. We're going to take a look at all of them, and we are going to judge how good they are in the context of going through your regular, average playthrough of Pokemon Crystal. And some of the things that we'll be judging Pokemon on include when they're available in the game. If you get them earlier, they inherently are a bit better to use. How good are their movesets? Do they get good moves? Do they not get good moves? The TMs they can learn. And also just other things like how hard are they to evolve? Because if you need to trade something to evolve, or if they're at a really high level, you know, it might not be as appealing as opposed to just say, level this thing up to level 30. So we'll be taking a look at that, and we'll be organizing Pokemon into these various tiers that we have lined up here. These should be fairly self-explanatory, but just to be safe, something that goes in S tier is basically just the cream of the crop. It's the best thing. You really can't go wrong with using this Pokemon. It's one of the best in the game. A tier is basically just a step below that. By no means bad. Still a very good Pokemon. Just, you could do a little bit better, but this is still very good. Nothing that'll make your playthrough harder or anything. So B tier is still not bad, but not the greatest either. C tier is when we start getting into questionable Pokemon, shall we say. Could definitely start doing better, but you could do worse. D tier is basically the bottom of the barrel. You know, just the Pokemon stats aren't great, or they're available too late, or they don't learn good moves, or some combination of that. You're not gonna have the best of times. And then F tier is probably gonna be reserved for stinky poo-poo Pokemon, and also things that just are like only available in the post-game or something, and like you therefore cannot use them without trading them in from another game. And as an aside here, this tier list will be focusing on Crystal, but there are some Pokemon that aren't available in Crystal and are only available in Gold and Silver. I'll kind of talk about them as we get to them. I think I'll do a Gold-Silver viability, so I will tier them according to how good they are, even though you can't get them in Crystal. Because for the most part, stuff in Crystal is encountered at the same time as in Gold and Silver, but there are a couple little differences. Okay, I think that's all the explaining I want to do. So, without further ado, let's begin with Meganium. So, of course, Meganium is the Grass-type starter that you can pick in the Johto games. Unfortunately, it probably is the worst. And I say unfortunately because, visually speaking, it probably is my favorite of the three Johto starters. But, like, there's just something about pure Grass-type Pokemon where they learn, like, no moves at all. It's like they learn a Grass move, they learn a normal move, that's it. Meganium does learn Earthquake in Gen 2, so okay. I guess that's something. Okay, so yeah, Meganium does get Earthquake, it gets Grass move, gets normal move, so it's like, it's not the worst thing you could use, I guess. I'll put it in B, I think, because it's definitely not a bad Pokemon, or like the worst thing you could use, but I wouldn't say it's terribly great either. And by the way, just for the record, Pokemon in each tier will not be sorted. They're just going to be placed in the tier in the order I get to them. So, I'm not going to be trying to say that Meganium is the best Pokemon in B tier, for example. So, next starter is Typhlosion. Of course, it's the fire type. Its stats are literally the exact same as Charizard. Charizard and Typhlosion have the same base stats, and I don't know why. But that's always a fun little fact I like to bring up now and again. The main problem I have with Typhlosion is that it takes forever to learn moves. Also, it evolves at level 36. We're gonna look at Quilava, because that's what you're gonna have for most of the damn game. You wanna know what TMs this thing learns? Dig, Fire Blast, which is a good move, I'll admit, but it has 5 PP, so you really can't use it that much without going to a Pokemon Center. That's it. It doesn't even get Flamethrower until level 54, and that's Quilava. If we go to Typhlosion, it gets Flamethrower at level 60. So, I think I'm just gonna put Typhlosion in B tier as well. And as for Feraligatr... See, Feraligatr is a physical water type, which doesn't work before Gen 4. Because all water moves are special prior to Gen 4. 79 special attack. So, your Ice Punch, your Surf, it's going to be running off of that. Honestly, you know what? I'm just going to put all the starters in B. They're all just kind of, this gen. So, next up is Pidgeot, which, well, yeah, Pidgeot is kind of like a jack-of-all-trades, master of none when it comes to stats. And when it comes to moves, it gets basically what you'd expect, you know, normal move, flying move. It gets Steel Wing, because Steel Wing is a thing now. When do you get the Steel Wing TM, though? You don't get Steel Wing until the post-game. Okay. So we can just completely ignore the fact that and learn Steel Wing. I'm trying to remember where I put Pidgeot in my red and blue tier list. Honestly, I'm inclined to put Pidgeot into C, because it's like not the worst thing you can use, but it definitely could be better. So for Furret, as cute as Furret is, it's unfortunately not the greatest. Furret's special attack is just abysmal, so it can't even take advantage of the fact that it gets the elemental punches via TM. Yeah, like really the only moves this thing's gonna have that it can use remotely well are like a normal move and Iron Tail. Sentret and Furret are really best reserved for HMs, so I think I'm gonna put Furret in D tier. Honestly, Fire Blast does a crap load of damage to Whitney. Actually, hold on, do you get Fire Blast TM in Goldenrod? Okay, I'm just completely wrong. You get Fire Blast in the Goldenrod game corner. It costs 5,500 coins. So, you know, if you want to grind for that, be my guest. But, that honestly, that doesn't bode well for you. So, Noctowl. Why the hell does Noctowl learn Confusion at level 41? So Noctowl is basically, it's a normal flying type, like Pidgeot. It's slower, it's more specially bulky than anything, and it does get Hypnosis, which has kind of crummy accuracy, but it's not a bad move. I'd be willing to put Noctowl into C, just because it does share a lot of similarities with Pidgeot. I'd say Noctowl has worse stats than Pidgeot, but Noctowl does get Hypnosis, which is some nice tech. So Golem, you can actually get it pretty early, and it's honestly a pretty decent pick. It's one of the better Pokemon to bring to the Whitney fight, because you'll at least resist Stomp and Roll Out. You still have to deal with flinches from Stomp. It also gets Magnitude, which honestly, I think Magnitude's not a horrible move. It is luck-based, but like statistically speaking, you're going to get a pretty powerful hit from it. It does get Earthquake via level up 2, it gets it at level 41, so you're probably going to get there before you get to the Elite Four, or at the very least, like, during the Elite Four, so you don't have to use your Earthquake TM on it. The main thing with Golem is that it's a trade evolution, so it's like, if you can't trade to evolve it, you're stuck with Graveler, which has worse stats, obviously. I think I'm going to put it into B, just because it's good, but if you can't evolve it, it's not as good. So, Donphan is a bit unfortunate, because it has a bit of a horrible level up move pool. It gets Earthquake naturally, but not until level 49, which is basically the end of the game. And until then, your best level up move is Rollout at level 33. And then before that, it's Takedown. I mean, I guess Takedown is more powerful than Rollout, but like, it's 85% accurate and you take recoil. Rollout is more accurate and doesn't have recoil. It's definitely a Pokemon that you need to invest in before it becomes good. I think I'm gonna put it in C, just because it is kinda stinky at the start of the game, and during the middle of the game. Raticate! Like, come on, there's not really much to say. It's the rodent. I don't think there's, like, a single early game rodent, except for maybe Diggersby, that's, like, good. And even then, the main reason Diggersby is good is because Huge Power is its hidden ability, but you don't really get access to hidden abilities during the main game. So, Beedrill... Beedrill should be an F tier because it's god-awful. I'm trying to save F tier for stuff that's, like, worse than Beedrill. I don't think Beedrill is worthy of F tier, but, like, it's pretty close. Like, you can at least argue that it has some use early game, just because you can get it evolved at level 10, and it has good stats for that point of the game. But, like, Beedrill is just in no way noteworthy other than that. Beedrill has access to Sludge Bomb. I guess that's something. It's a 90 power stab poison move around the 7th gym. So, like, you can make a case for this being not completely worthless. That's basically why it's in D tier. Now, Butterfree. See, Butterfree has access to, you know, Stun Spore and Sleep Powder. What else does the Funny Bug get? Oh, that's all the Funny Bug gets. Okay. It's very much a support Pokemon, because, like, okay, it gets Confusion at level 10. Then its next offensive move via level up is Gust at level 28. Then Psybeam at 34. That's it. So, like, this thing is not going to be doing damage. Honestly, I'm torn between, like, a high D or a low C. I'm leaning towards D. We can always change this later if I get second thoughts. Ledian! Ariados! Okay, no. I used a Ledian in Heart Gold Soul Silver, and it was god-awful there. I have not used a Ledian in Crystal, but I can't imagine it is remotely the same experience as in Heart Gold Soul Silver. Never mind, better. So unfortunately, I think we have to put Ledian in F tier. Ariados... Before I look up anything about Ariados, I'm just going to instinctively say that this thing goes into D tier. Yeah, this thing sure does learn no moves until Psychic at level 63. Okay, I stand corrected. It learns Sludge Bomb via TM, and it has more attack than Beedrill. Oh my god, do we actually have a competitor? No, we don't, because its leveled up move pool is garbage. Jumpluff. Okay, so Jumpluff at least gets Sleep Powder at an early level. It gets it before it evolves to Skiploom. It gets Leech Seed, so that's more annoying status stuff to the opponent. This thing is basically just better Butterfree. We're gonna put it in C. So when I made the Gen 1 tier list, I said Poliwrath was like kind of mid, I think. And I did not realize that Whirl got access to Amnesia. If I did realize that, Poliwrath definitely would have been in a higher tier because Gen 1 Amnesia is busted. But unfortunately, Gen 2 Amnesia is not busted. But yeah, like, I look at Poliwrath and I get Feraligatr vibes, honestly. It has worse offensive stats than Poliwrath. You can't see them down here because of how I have the screen cropped. Oh wait, hold on. I forgot. Poliwrath is a stone evolution. And for some reason, evolution stones are just really hard to come across in Crystal. Like, I think you specifically have to get most of the evolution stones from people calling you on the Pokegear. Either that, or like you get one for free for talking to Bill's grandpa or something, but that might only be in Heart Gold Soul Silver. Yeah, okay, so you get one from Bill's grandfather, but that's only in the post-game. Route 42, it's a gift from Fisherman Tully, only in Crystal. If you're in Gold and Silver, you're just screwed. But yeah, what that means is you're basically stuck with Whirl until you get the Evolution Stone. And, again, you can't see Whirl's stats, but they're kind of awful. So, honestly, Poliwrath isn't terrible, but it takes a while to be able to get him. I'm gonna say, like, a low C. Now, Politoed at least has, like, a better stat spread, but it's a trait evolution. But you can evolve it earlier than Poliwrath. Because, yeah, you get King's Rock, like, as soon as you get Surf. So, you can definitely evolve it earlier, but it's a trade evolution, so you have to be able to trade. Honestly, I'm just going to stick it in the same tier as Poliwrath. So next is Victory Bell, which also evolves via an Evolution Stone, and the Leaf Stone you get from someone on Route 34. But if I remember correctly, I think you can only get the Evolution Stones after, like, the 7th gym, or some kind of stupid restriction like that. Can I, like, find a source to see if this is accurate or not? I can't seem to find a source saying, like, when they give away Leaf Stones, but either way, it makes it annoying to get Victory Bell, but like, Victory Bell isn't terrible, because it gets Sleep Powder. You can also give it, like, Return. You can give it Sludge Bomb. So yeah, like, once you get Victory Bell evolved, it does have moves, but, like, I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty with Victory Bell in regards to when you're able to evolve it. And honestly, I don't think it's really worth it. I don't know. I think Victory Bell goes into C, but it's like a high C or a low B. It's not a bad Pokemon. It's just annoying to evolve. So Crobat, you can evolve basically the moment you get Golbat. You just have to grind its friendship high enough. And Golbat's fast and has really decent stats all around. Or sorry, not Golbat, Crobat. Okay, the Crobat line is cringe because it doesn't get Wing Attack until level 30. Okay, so yeah, Crobat is a bit rough during the, like, early game, because it really doesn't have any good moves until it gets Fly. But once you can get it Fly or Wing Attack, and then also Sludge Bomb, it's honestly pretty powerful, and it's really fast, too. I'm gonna say B. Now, Dunsparce. Wow. Chat is immediately spamming S tier. Okay. So the thing with Dunsparce is that all the cool stuff it gets, it doesn't get in Gen 2. There's no Serene Grace, there's no Yawn, it has 75% accurate Glare. Like, I'd say overall, its stats are better than Raticate's because it has more bulk. I don't know, honestly, in Gen 2, Dunsparce just isn't super appealing to me. It did really help me out in my low-level run of Crystal, but that was with heavy save state abuse. So I'm not sure that really counts. But yeah, in the same place you get Dunsparce, you can get Teddiursa, which honestly, just use it instead. Like, it's better than Dunsparce. It doesn't get Slash until after it evolves at level 39, but Ursaring just has a monstrous attack stat, and honestly some decent bulk too. You can give it the Earthquake TM. Yeah, I'm inclined. I'm torn between C and B for Ursaring, because you can give Ursaring Strength, I guess. You get that mid-game-ish. Honestly, let's put it in B. I think Ursaring deserves B. Now, Gengar... Gengar's really nice for Whitney. Unfortunately, there's no Thunderbolt TM. Oh, but there's the Elemental Punches, though. Okay, Haunter does not learn the Elemental Punches, despite very clearly having hands. This is very much dependent on whether you are able to evolve Gengar, because Haunter is very mid, since it doesn't get the Elemental Punches, but Gengar is very good if you are able to evolve it. Plus, it also has Hypnosis. I'm gonna put Gengar in A, just because you really do need to be able to evolve it. Steelix is interesting. It does not get Earthquake via level up. Doesn't really get anything via level up, honestly. Like, Steelix is a pretty bulky, physical tank, but it's very TM reliant. It's a trade evolution, and you can get a Metal Coat from Magnemite, but it's only like a 5% drop. So if you don't feel like doing that, then you have to wait until the post-game to get Metal Coat. I think C is fair, and it's honestly worse than C if you're unable to evolve it, because if you're unable to evolve it, then you're stuck with Onix, which is basically worthless. Now, Arcanine... Arcanine's funny, because you get earlier in Crystal than you would in Gold and Silver. It gets Flamethrower at level 50, otherwise you're stuck with Fire Blast. It gets Extreme Speed, also at level 50. It's just, its moveset is not the greatest. That's my biggest complaint with Arcanine, because otherwise it does have a really solid, balanced stat line. God, I hate putting everything into C, because it feels like it's just everything's going to be in C, but like, I feel like that's just a fair assessment for it, just because its moveset's kind of iffy, its evolution method is kind of iffy. Oh god, okay, hold on. This is Togetic's level up move pool. Like, I know it starts with Growl and Charm, which is like awful, but then it just doesn't get an offensive move other than Metronome, if you want to count Metronome, until level 38, where it gets Double Edge. It's too TM reliant, and the TMs it does learn that are like decent are very late game or post game. I think I'm very tempted to put it into F tier because you get it as an egg, so you have to spend a while to hatch it. When you do hatch it, it gets no offensive moves. Alright, I don't feel 100% right putting it in F tier, but I also don't feel 100% right putting it in D tier. So I think it's going in F tier. What kind of hoe would just pick the most powerful Pokemon to roll through the game with, lol? Okay, well think of it this way. What if you want to pick the worst Pokemon? This tier list also lets you know what the worst Pokemon are. So yeah, Arbok has like the stats of something in D tier, so I think it goes in D tier. It does get Earthquake and Sludge Bomb, but those are TMs that you have to use on it. It's probably one of the better Pokemon in D tier, honestly, just because Sludge Bomb is really powerful, and Earthquake's just generally a good move, but I don't feel comfortable putting it in C tier. Oh god, it's Quagsire. Quagsire gets Earthquake somewhat early at level 35. It's probably not the worst thing. It's decently bulky. I don't know. I feel like I'd rather use Quagsire than Arbok, and I would place Arbok like in the higher end of D tier. I'm legitimately having trouble with this one. I think I'm just gonna stick it in D. Like, if Quagsire had Yawn, if Yawn was a thing in Gen 2, I would totally put it in C. Maybe even B if I was feeling a little funny. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna put it in C because it's bulky, it's got a great type, because, like, Grass is barely existent in Gen 2 in terms of, like, offensive moves. Now, Ampharos is the first Pokemon on this list that is not in Crystal. If you're playing Gold or Silver, you can get a Mareep on Route 32, but it's not in Crystal, which is absolutely garbage. Crystal is a horrible game. 0 out of 10. Where's my Ampharos? Ampharos is kind of slow, but it's bulky. I think my biggest complaint with Ampharos is that it doesn't get Thunderbolt via level up. It still has a really high special attack stat, and Thunder Punch is alright. It does get Fire Punch too. Alright, you know what? I'm feeling nice. I will say, I do have some bias towards Ampharos, because I really like Ampharos. So I might be a little biased here, but I think I'm going to put Ampharos into B. Again, it's not in Crystal, so this only applies to Gold and Silver. And I know I said this was a Crystal tier list, but screw you, I'm judging these anyway. Quillfish is kind of stinky because it's only available via swarms until you get the Super Rod. And let me just confirm this, but I think I think Quillfish's stats are kind of garbage. This just in, Quillfish's stats are kind of garbage. Like, okay, it gets Stab, Sludge Bomb. That's one thing it has going for it, especially with the base 95 attack. But is it worth it to wait for a Swarm to get this thing for Stab, Sludge Bomb? I don't think so. D tier. Unknown. I really shouldn't have to provide any justification for that one. Like, I really shouldn't. At all. Now, Gyarados is kind of interesting because it definitely got nerfed from Gen 1 to Gen 2 because of the splitting of the special stat, because in Gen 1, Gyarados had a special of like 100, and that was its special attack and special defense. But now, it's 60. Gyarados' special attack is 60. So, if we take a look at physical moves it learns Strength, it learns Return if you're bothered with getting that. Notice the lack of Earthquake on this list, and that's basically it for physical moves. I mean, I guess Rock Smash, Hidden Power if you get lucky and it has good typing and good power. So yeah, Gyarados just really isn't all that compared to Gen 1. So D tier then, see, it's tough because it's basically just normal move of choice, but like it still has way better stats other than special attack than anything else in D tier. I feel like C is probably better for it just because it has about as much move pool depth as these guys, but it actually has stats. Tentacruel unfortunately does not have the greatest move pool because Ice Beam isn't a TM, Sludge Bomb is physical, and Giga Drain is in the post game. I don't know. I might just say screw it and put it in C. I'd be more inclined to put Tentacruel higher if it still had its great special attack stat from Gen 1, or if it had, like, access to Ice Beam or Giga Drain earlier. Let's see, is Sandslash's moveset as horrible as I expect it to be? So I think Sandslash just has a horrible level up moveset until, like, Gen 7. Yeah, okay. This level up moveset is about as horrible as I was expecting. Sandslash, I guess, isn't the worst thing to use, because you get Dig before the 4th gym, and it's perfect for the 4th gym. It gets Strength, so you can just slap that on once it gets that, or once you get that. It's also kind of a similar situation with Donphan, but Donphan doesn't get Dig. Sandslash at least gets Dig. So it has worse stats than Donphan, but it's at least able to learn Dig, so it's not a complete waste until you get Earthquake. So I feel it's fair putting it in the same tier as Donphan. Sea King, it sure is a physical water type before physical water types could exist properly. It gets Horn Drill for Lance. That's it. I think D is a fair tier for Sea King, because it's just very... Why? Now, Fearow is an interesting Pokemon, because it's better than Pidgeot, and also, you can use the Spearow that's given to you north of Goldenrod City, and just get boosted experience from that, so you can level it up faster to get it stronger faster. Fearow does get Drill Peck at level 40. Drill Peck's a pretty solid move. 40 isn't the worst level. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst. The high level is kind of counterbalanced, though, by the fact that you can get one with boosted experience. Honestly, I'm tempted to put Fearow into B, just because you can get the traded one, quote-unquote traded. Okay, so Aipom's moveset is looking absolutely... Okay, no, it does get some decent stuff. The problem is that its special attack stat is garbage, and its physical attack honestly isn't much better. The question is Aipom D or is Aipom F? I don't think it's bad enough for F. When I was listing off, like, the F tier and how it'd be reserved for the worst of the worst, I wasn't envisioning putting Aipom here, but honestly, I don't see anything appealing about Aipom. Like, if you're gonna use Aipom, just use Furret or Eradicate. They have better stats, and, like, the same moves. Oh, Heracross. I feel so bad for Heracross. Heracross is a great Pokemon. It's just stuck in a game where it learns no moves until Megahorn at level 54. And there's, like, no good fighting type move. It doesn't even get Dynamic Punch. It gets Earthquake. Yay. But yeah, it's like, Heracross is a great Pokemon. Just not in Gen 2. I'm gonna put it in C, because it's basically in a similar situation with Gyarados. Fortress. What the hell does Fortress even get? Okay, so Fortress can go boom. Fortress can go boom and put down spikes and ram into opponents. If only Toxic was available during the main game. Yeah, like, I swear to God, I'm not trying to be a hater on Johto. It's just that everything in Johto is kind of stinky. Here, we're getting to a decent Pokemon, because Exeggutor is just better Jumpluff. You know, you get access to Leech Seed, you get access to Sleep Powder or Hypnosis. The thing is, Exeggutor actually has attacking stats. Unfortunately, you don't really get the best moves to use them with during the main game, but the main downside is that it evolves via a stone. I feel fine putting it in B, because it's good, but it's a pain to evolve. So Slowbro... My main problem with Slowbro is that Slowpoke has more attack than special attack, but it's a special attacker, and then you have to wait until level 37 to evolve it to Slowbro. Like, okay, let's see, does Slowpoke get any good attacking moves before it evolves? Not really. You get Surf via HM. I guess you could give it Shadow Ball. Slowpoke, 65 attack, that's not horrible. Give it Strength, I guess. The lack of Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and Flamethrower TMs is just brutal. Slowbro, at least, gets Ice Punch. It takes forever to evolve, but once it evolves, it's honestly pretty good. I'm kind of torn between B and C. I'm leaning towards C, though, just because it does take forever to evolve. It's kind of in a similar situation with Donphan, so I think we're going to go with C. Slowking, on the other hand, is an interesting one, because it's a trade evolution. It requires the King's Rock. You can get that once you get Surf, and if you're able to trade it, and you trade it as soon as you can, you get an evolution faster than Slowbro. In terms of, like, stats and moves, it's basically the same thing as Slowbro. The main difference with Slowking is it has more special defense than physical defense. Honestly, I'm kind of tempted to put Slowking into B just because being able to have access to, like, what is it, 110 special attack, I think it has? Being able to have access to that plus Stab Surf after the 4th gym is pretty awesome if you can get it. Main problem is you have to get it, because, again, trade evolution. What are we up to here? Vileplume. If you level up Gloom to 44, you get 70 base power Pedal Dance, which is basically the best attacking option for grass types. You also get Sleep Powder at an early level, same with Stun Spore and Poison Powder. You have access to Sludge Bomb once you get it. Unfortunately, Vileplume is a stone evolution. If this thing didn't require a Leaf Stone to evolve, I'd be tempted to put it into B. But as is, I think I'm going to put it into C. I can share a tier with Victory Bell. Now, Blossom, on the other hand, Blossom is a stone evolution, but it requires the Sunstone. And the Sunstone is probably the only easy evolution stone to get, because to get it, you have to win the Bug Contest, which honestly isn't the most difficult thing in the world. You just need to catch a Scyther or a Pinsir at pretty high health. That's it. You do that, you're basically guaranteed to win the Bug Contest in Gold, Silver, Crystal. Other than that, it's basically the exact same thing as Vileplume. So because Blossom's easier to evolve, I'm gonna put it in B. Parasect! Boy, it sure has Spore, and nothing else to its name. I'm putting it in D because Spore at least has some utility, compared to these guys, which have basically nothing going for them. I like how Golduck learns Confusion, but not Psychic, via level up. It doesn't even get the Psychic TM. Okay, that's great. Yeah, Golduck sure is a water type. It sure is very unnoteworthy. Honestly, I'd rather use Tentacruel than Golduck. So I'm putting Golduck in D. Oh god, I actually have to scroll down now to get the list of Pokemon visible. Okay, hold on. I gotta zoom out. Yeah, the only noteworthy thing about Venomoth is that it gets Psychic without needing the TM for it, which does not cut it for me. Kingler is really just the same thing as Seaking, but more min-maxed, because it has more attack and defense, but less special attack and special defense than Seaking. So I feel justified putting Kingler in D. Unknown. Okay, future me cutting in here to interrupt past me. Why did I call Ditto unknown? F. Like, you have to waste a turn copying the opponent. That's just a turn the opponent's going to use to hit you. Gramble... I'm tempted to put Gramble in C, because it's like a normal type that's kind of one note, but has similar stats to Gyarados over here. Yeah, Grambolt's looking fairly one note. You give it strength, you go to town. It does learn a plethora of special attacks, but with 60 special attack, you're not going to get very far. So, I feel justified putting it in the same tier as Gyarados, which is very similar. Hypno... God, Hypno, why do you get Psychic at level 49? Couldn't you swap Meditate and Psychic? See, Hypno doesn't hit hard, but it has Hypnosis. It's kind of bulky. It gets access to the elemental punches. Yeah, Hypno kind of falls into, like, a support-ish role. I hate putting everything into C, but, like, I feel like it's not quite good enough to put into B, so we'll just put it there. Now, Alakazam. I think Alakazam deserves another spot in S, because it gets Psychic, but it also gets the elemental punches. So it just becomes even more powerful than its Gen 1 counterpart. Like, there's Dark types now, but now you can just use the elemental punches to hit them hard. And the best thing is, unlike Gengar, even if you can't evolve to Alakazam, Kadabra is still perfectly serviceable, because it's able to learn the elemental punches. It has a special attacking stab. It has decent enough stats. It can work better than if you have to use a Haunter. So I think that's a pretty easy S tier. Now Wigglytuff. Can you even get a Moonstone in the main game? You can get one in the Ruins of Alph, apparently. Where in the Ruins of Alph, though? Okay, I think that's the one that requires Surf. I wouldn't say Wigglytuff is bad. It does get decent enough coverage. Like, you know, it's able to learn the elemental punches, which are decent enough moves. They're kind of weak, but... So yeah, okay, Wigglytuff just gets, like, a crap load of moves via TMs. Its attacking stats are 70 and 75, so they aren't the greatest, but you get Body Slam at level 34 from Jigglypuff. That's not the worst. I don't know. It's one of those Pokemon that's like, I could put it in B tier, I could put it in C tier. I'm gonna put Wigglytuff in C. I don't think it's quite good enough to be put in B. Electabuzz and Magmar are basically just clones, as far as I'm concerned. I feel like, honestly, Electabuzz and Magmar both just kind of belong in C. Like, they're not bad, they're good, but, like, they're kind of one note is the problem. Like, they get electric move / fire move. Like, if Psychic was available in the main game, I'd probably put them in B. As things stand, it's probably a high C for them. Now, Jinx is a bit trickier to tier. So, there's no move relearner in Gen 2, so that means if you want Lovely Kiss on your Jinx, then you have to catch it as a Jinx, which means you have to wait until Ice Path, or whatever it's called, to get a Jinx. But in the tier list, since I have things in the order you can get them, Jinx here, at the earliest point you could get it, would be from the Odd Egg as a Smoochum. And Smoochum gets Sweet Kiss instead of Lovely Kiss. So, you have to choose, basically. Do you want Lovely Kiss, but have to wait until later in the game? Or do you want Jinx earlier, but no Lovely Kiss? Because Lovely Kiss is pretty good. It's 75% accurate sleep. It's basically sleep powder. And then you get things like Ice Punch via level up. Smoochum gets Sing instead of Ice Punch. Amazing. If you keep Smoochum until level 37 for some reason, you get Psychic via level up. Man, I said Jinx would be a little weird to tier, but I think it just belongs in C like everything else, apparently. Now, all three of the Hitmontops, I think, can safely go into D tier, because it's like, they don't really have anything worth it. They have better special defense compared to Gen 1, where it was basically non-existent, but like... So Hitmonlee gets high jump kick at a reasonable level, which is reasonably powerful, has 90 accuracy, but this thing also dies to a physical attack, so like, is it worth it? I don't really know. Hitmonlee I might put into C, just because high jump kick is pretty decently powerful off of 120 attack, but then Hitmonchan and Hitmontop go into D. Raichu is basically Electabuzz if you wanted to use a stone to evolve it, and I don't think there's really much more to Raichu other than that, so I'm gonna put it in D. Clefable is better Wigglytuff, so I'm gonna put it in B. Because basically everything you can say about Wigglytuff's move pool, you can also say about Clefable's move pool, but Clefable just has better stats. Now, Wobbuffet. Here's where things get a little spicy. So in Gold and Silver, you can't get Wobbuffet until Dark Cave. In Crystal, you can get Wobbuffet from the Game Corner. And, like, if you beat every trainer, your mother doesn't save money, and you pick up and sell the charcoal, and you don't buy any other items, then you can get a Wobbuffet as soon as you get to Goldenrod. And with how predictable the AI can be, you can honestly get some pretty good mileage out of Wobbuffet. It's completely useless against Ghost types and Dark types. But honestly, I don't think Wobbuffet's that bad. I think it's actually a very funny option. I'm gonna put it in B, I think. I really don't think it's that bad Pokemon. I think it's honestly a pretty good one. Marowak. You can get a Cubone from the Game Corner. And I think that's basically the only way you can get it until Kanto. It gets some decent stuff early on. It gets Bone Meringue at a reasonable level, which is basically just discount Earthquake. Honestly, I think it's in a similar boat to Sandslash. It has, like, worse stats, but a better move pool. So I think I can just go and see with Sandslash and Donphan. Yanma! Okay, Yanma is a 1% encounter, unless you get a swarm. And it is not remotely worth it. The only stab move it gets is wing attack. Honestly, high F tier. Now, Nidoqueen and Nidoking, on the other hand, you don't have access to Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and Flamethrower until the post-game, but you still get the Elemental Punches, you still get Surf, you get Sludge Bomb now. There's Shadow Ball, okay. Yeah, honestly, I think Nidoking deserves A at the very least. And you know what, we'll put Nidoqueen in A, too. I don't know, Nidoking is pretty close to S tier. Sunflora. Oh my god, this is awful. Holy crap, this is an awful moveset. Like, props for giving it Giga Drain via level up, but 46? Please tell me Sunflora. No, Sunflora gets Solar Beam at 46 instead. Like, Sunflora's special attack is its best stat at 105, which isn't bad, but it's like so not worth it. Now, Scizor is an interesting one because Scyther and Scizor have the same base stat total. So even if you don't want to get a metal coat during the main game and just want to wait until the one in the post game, you're not really losing out on anything in terms of overall stat total. Now, moves, on the other hand, I'm not so sure about. Okay, you get Wing Attack at 30, which isn't horrible. This thing might not have a great level up move pool. Or TM move pool. What does Scizor get? Gets Metal Claw at 30 instead of Wing Attack. Okay. Yeah. So, this thing doesn't have a great move pool. Unlike all the other trait evolutions, though, Scyther's stats are perfectly fine if you can't get it to a Scizor. I think I'm gonna put Scizor in C. Pinsir... Come on, Game Freak. You couldn't give Pinsir Mega Horn. This level up moveset isn't exactly the most inspiring, and it doesn't get Earthquake. This is looking like another one of those like Gyarados or Tentacruels, where it's like high stats, barely any moves. So I think that's perfectly reasonable. So Ninetales isn't in Crystal, but it does have something noteworthy. Vulpix gets Flamethrower at level 31, which is like an actual reasonable level. Now, unfortunately, for the rest of the moves, there's not really much of anything. Like, there's Confuse Ray, and Ninetales' offensive stats aren't really anything to write home about. I'm tempted to put it into D, just because this thing really only has Flamethrower, and that's it, and it's also a Stone evolution, so I think I'm gonna put it into D. So Sudowoodo at least gets Rock Slide at, like, a reasonable level, and then it gets Earthquake via TM, gets Strength. Honestly, it's like, it's a bit one note, but it's not terrible. There's just so many C Pokemon in Johto, but I do think every Pokemon in C tier belongs in C tier, because Johto is just a rough game for getting like a really good Pokemon. Most of the stuff there is just average at best, or has great stats but some kind of debilitating flaw in its moveset. Stantler, it gets Hypnosis. Other than that, it's Raticate and Ferret. Okay, it's actually like a bit stronger than stuff like Raticate and Ferret, but I still think it belongs in D because it's just very unnoteworthy other than Hypnosis. Let me just confirm that Vaporeon is basically the exact same as every other water type that we've looked at so far. Yeah, this basically appears to be every other water type that we've looked at so far. So that's like kind of the problem with evolutions, is like their level up move pools aren't the greatest typically. Like they typically get like a weak move of their type and then the best with nothing in between. But I mean, Vaporeon still does Surf good, so I think it's fair enough to put it in C. Jolteon... See, this is where things start getting a little tricky, because there's no Surf equivalent for these doofuses. And Thunderbolt is a post-game tutor, Flamethrower is a post-game tutor, Toxic is a post-game TM, and Psychic is a TM, but it's in the post-game. So, yeah, like with only 65 attack, Jolteon isn't really able to make great use of the plethora of physical moves it gets, like Return and Shadow Ball. I say plethora, but that's really it. I mean, I guess there's Iron Tail. I guess Jolteon does get Bite, which is another special attack. So, I guess that at least gives it some value, so we can put it in C. Flareon is a bit more interesting because it actually has an attack stat, so that means it can use things like Return and Shadow Ball. And then Fire Blast is honestly not a bad move to have to rely on. It's expensive because it's like in the game corner, but still, I mean, it does get Flamethrower via level up. It just comes late. Actually, I just realized too, these three evolve with Evolution Stones, which are kind of ass to get in Crystal. Do I want to keep these two in C now that I have remembered this? Okay, I might be a little harsh on Vaporeon and move it to D, just because water is such a populated type. That's like, why would you go out of your way to get a Water Stone for this when you have so many other possibilities for water type? Still though, if you're stuck with Thunder Shock, either Thunder Shock or Thunder, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on whether I want to keep Jolteon in C or not. Okay, so like comparing Jolteon to Electabuzz, I feel like I would rather use Electabuzz than Jolteon. If we look at what Electabuzz learns via level up, so you have Thunder Punch very early on from Elekid from the Odd Egg, so that's great. You get Thunderbolt via level up, which is fantastic. You don't get Thunder Wave. That's the one downside, but Electabuzz has an attack stat of 83, which honestly isn't the worst. Like, you know, you can totally take advantage of things like Return or Iron Tail if you want to be that way. You know, you also get access to Ice Punch, Fire Punch. Honestly, why did I put this thing in C now that I'm looking at it? I feel like this thing's better than that. It deserves to be in B. And since Magmar is basically a counterpart, it can also go in B. Why not? What the hell was I on Monday night when I did the first part of this? Anyway, what was I talking about? Flareon. Right, yeah, it's a mixed attacker, but it's slow. It gets some decent stuff, but it's a stone evolution. Honestly, I'll be nice to you, Dusty, because, like, Flareon has more attack and special attack than Magmar, so it'll hit harder, but its move pool is more limited, and it requires an evolution stone. So I think this is fair. Now, Espeon, it gets Psychic at 47, which is late, but it at least gets Psybeam, although that is kind of late, too, for Psybeam. I don't know, so far, I think I am honestly liking Espeon the most. It's kind of one note, because, like, Zap Cannon is the only other special move it gets, and that's not until the post-game, and also, it's Zap Cannon, it's 50 accuracy. Okay, if you level up Eevee to level 30, Espeon can get Bite. Honestly, I'm feeling a C tier for Espeon, because it's easier to evolve, but, like, it's kind of useless if you don't get Eevee to 30 to give it Bite. So, like, if it has Bite, it at least has something other than Psychic move. So I think C is fair. Umbreon is, of course, tanky, it doesn't have great offensive stats, and it doesn't get Crunch, it instead gets Feint Attack. It doesn't really learn anything to take advantage of its bulk other than Confuse Ray, which is mid, and Toxic, which is post-game. I don't want to, like, completely dismiss the bulk that Umbreon has, because you're still able to just send this thing in against something and just have it, like, never die. But it doesn't really do much to accelerate the opponent's death. I think a very low C, like a low C, high D for Umbreon. And speaking of not doing things to accelerate the opponent's death, look, it's Shuckle. Please tell me Rap is a thing that Shuckle learns. Okay, good. It learns Rap. It at least has that. It has Roll Out if you want to be funny, I guess. It has Mud Slap if you want to be even funnier. Oh, it gets Defense Curl via TM, so you can do Defense Curl Rollout if you want to be that guy. Wait, why is Sweet Scent an egg move for Shuckle when Sweet Scent is a TM? But it doesn't learn the TM. Honestly, if you want a bit of a spicy take, I'd say Shuckle is better than Umbreon, but it's probably still in the same tier as Umbreon, because Shuckle has Rap. So it at least does, like, what is it, 1/8? Instead, it inflicts 1/16 of the target's maximum HP as damage for 2 to 5 turns upon use. Oh, Okay, that's not great. So next up is Wheezing, which I do kind of like Wheezing, because obviously it's going to get Sludge Bomb. It can get Fire Blast if you can be bothered to get that. Of course, it can go Boom, too. If you want to be weird, you can give it Side Beam via Breeding. I guess that's a thing. Yeah, I feel like C is fair, because when you compare it to other mixed attackers like Electabuzz and Magmar, you know, they get their weapons earlier / more easily than Wheezing does. So even though Wheezing does have good physical bulk, I feel like that's still kind of fair to put it there. Now, here's a couple of interesting Pokemon here, because we have Raikou and Entei, who are roamers. And they're also a pain in the ass to catch, because, you know, they're legendary Pokemon. Oh, that's annoying. So, it learns Bite at level 1. So at level 40, it'll have Leer, but not Bite, because Bite comes first, then Leer. It'll have Leer, Thundershock, Roar, Quick Attack. That's dumb. At least you level up this thing once, it'll get Spark. Crunch comes late, unfortunately. If Crunch and Reflect were swapped, I'd totally be fine with that. And then Raikou has 85 attack, so it can make use of things like Return or Dig. The big problem with Raikou is that you have to catch it, which is annoying. It requires a lot of effort, because you have to go out of your way to find it. And then once you find it, you have one turn to catch it before it runs away, or uses Roar, or whatever. And then if you don't catch it, well, congratulations, you have to find it again. So, stats-wise, Raikou is just a better Jolteon. And honestly, move pool-wise, basically the same thing. But you have to find and catch it, and you don't get the Master Ball until after you do all 8 gyms, and then go back to your hometown. So it's like, if you want to use the Master Ball to get it, you have to wait until the end of the game. And so it makes Raikou and also Entei just tricky to rank, because it's like, if you get them as soon as possible, congrats, you have something that's a really high level and has really good stats. If you wait until the end of the game, they're still a good level, they still have good stats, but you're waiting so long, and you're using your one-time only Master Ball. I think I'm just gonna put Raikou in C, because I really don't know where else to put it. D doesn't feel right for it, and B doesn't feel right for it, just because it's in a very weird situation. And we're just gonna do the same thing with Entei, honestly, because Entei is just kind of like Fire-type Raikou. Actually, though, hold on. Before I commit to that, there's no Fire-type equivalent to Spark, so what does Entei get at 41? Oh, it gets Stomp, but then it gets Flamethrower at 51, which is kind of late. That's going to be like post-game. Fire Spin, Ember. I don't know, man. I kind of don't like this. I really don't want to put Entei in D, but it's like having Stomp as your level 41 move, and then having to wait until level 51 for Flamethrower. That's not great. I don't know. I'm very torn. It doesn't really feel right putting Entei in D, but honestly, I might just have to. Now, Lapras, on the other hand. Lapras, my beloved. See, Lapras is the example of a good Gen 2 Pokemon, because it gets Body Slam right off the bat, you get access to Ice Beam at level 36, that's a good level. Of course, it gets Surf via HM, so you're good there. Okay, like, Psychic is not until the post-game, so there's that. I do have some bias towards Lapras. It's a Pokemon that I really like, but I do think Lapras is one of the better water types, just because it actually gets Ice Beam during the main game, and that's just so nice to have for things like Claire and Lance. I don't think I'd put Lapras in S, but I'm definitely comfortable putting Lapras in A. Psychic's post-game, Thunderbolt is post-game. Like, Surf and Ice Beam, definitely a nice combo to have. Body Slam is also good. Yeah, Xatu is just like, for the longest time, this thing has gotten Psychic at an unreasonably late level, and then, like, no flying moves other than Peck. Xatu looks cool. I love how it looks. But what the hell is this? Like, this is more or less how its level up move pool looks, until, like, Generation 7, or something stupid like that. No, it's Aurus. Aurus is the first game where it gets Psychic at a reasonable level. Until then, it's like in the 60s. That is pathetic. So like, until Level 35 when you get Future Sight. Your main offensive moves are Nightshade and Peck. I hate how badly they treat this awesome bird. Smeargle. Like, I feel like I probably don't have to justify this too much, but, like, it's Smeargle. 6 Smeargle run when? Tomorrow. Yeah, why the heck does Persian learn Slash at level 53? Like, does Game Freak have something against this cat or something? It's like, that's another thing, too. It learns it late in Gen 1, which at least there you could argue it's because it's a guaranteed critical hit, so it effectively has, like, 50% more power. But that's not the case in Gen 2. And it's like, this thing's stats aren't really anything to write home about. They're all, like, base 60 to 70, except for speed, which is 115. I don't know. I feel this just kind of goes with the rest of the Route 1 rodent stuff. Magneton is honestly kind of in a similar situation as Jolteon. Magneton is just very one-note like Jolteon, but it has a better type, and it's easier to evolve. Jolteon does have more coverage than Magneton, though. Honestly, I'm just gonna put Magneton in the same tier as Jolteon. Tauros might just be the best mono-normal type we have looked at so far. Like, it doesn't have a great special stat, so you can't use all these various moves that it learns, but you know, you have your normal move of choice, you have Earthquake once you get to Victory Road, there's Iron Tail if you feel lucky, I guess. Tauros it's strong, it's fast, it has decent bulk. I'm a little torn on this one. I don't know, right now I'm feeling like Tauros is like a high C or a low B, because it's fairly one note until Victory Road. I don't know, I'll put it in B because there's nothing in B. And you can give it Iron Tail if you're desperate. Now, Miltank, its counterpart, so to speak. Honestly, Miltank is basically just bulkier but weaker Tauros. Oh, Miltank gets Shadow Ball, so therefore we can put it in the same tier. Electrode! Does Electrode get an electric move in this generation via level up? No, it doesn't. Excellent. I feel like Electrode is just very much nothing to write home about. If you want to transfer it back to Gen 1, you can give it the Teleport TM for absolute memery. The thing is that normally you don't get Electrode until, like, Gym 7, but there's also a trade for a Voltorb in Olivine, so you can get, like, boosted experience, too. Honestly, I'll put it in C. I think it's fine to put it there. Next up is Starmie, which, the moment you catch this thing, you'll have access to Surf, so you can just slap Surf on it immediately. As far as other moves, though, yeah, unfortunately, I think just things like Psychic, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Nose Beam post-game just kind of hurt Starmie. Without them, Starmie just becomes the same thing as most other water types, where it's just like, it's Surf, that's it. Plus, it's a Stone evolution, too. I feel like because I just talked about how it's basically the same as all the other water types, that I should put it here. But I'm putting Starmie in B because nobody can stop me, and once you get to the post-game, it can become powerful. Also, I like Starmie. Corsola, I think I can just automatically put in F and nobody will disagree with me on that, but I will be thorough and make sure that I'm not forgetting about some super secret OP hidden tech that Corsola gets. Hey, what do you know? There's no super secret hidden OP tech that Corsola gets. Cloyster! Okay, 1 point for Cloyster. It gets Ice Beam via level up, and you can reasonably get it in the main game. And when I say reasonably, I mean just barely. Oh yeah, right. That was Shelder I was looking at, so you'd have to raise Shelder to 49. No. Yeah, honestly, with Cloyster being a Stone evolution and not having anything super special, I feel fine putting it in D. Now, Lantern is an absolute baby, and I will put it in S tier immediately, except not really, because I have some bit of reputability I want to hold on to. So you got Thunder Wave, you have Surf, of course. Spark is alright, I guess. You have Confuse Ray too, so you can do Parafusion shenanigans if you wanna. The main kind of problem with Lantern is that it is a bit on the weak side. It only has 76 special attack. So, like, it's totally an inferior Lapras. But this might be my bias speaking here, but I'm willing to put Lantern in B. Mantine... Oh boy, it gets Wing Attack at level 40. I'm so happy. It gets Wing Attack at level 40 off of base 40 attack. Yeah, looking at Mantine, I'm looking at this and thinking to myself, why would you use this over, like, Tentacruel or Lantern or any other specially bulky water type? Honestly, this might be a bit spicy, but I'm gonna put Mantine in D, because it's like, why? You get at the same point, you get better stuff that fills a very similar role to Mantine. Azumarill. So, like, you get the Fence Curl roll out naturally. That helps to make up for Marill and Azumarill's lackluster attack. You also get Ice Punch to kind of help, like, give it a decent ice move. You get Surf, you get Strength. I feel like Azumarill has a decent enough move pool to, like, warrant a spot in C, I guess. So Primeape is a Pokemon that's not even in Crystal, it's only in Gold. But I will still, like, tier it accordingly, just because I can. So you get Cross Chop at 45, which is a good fighting move, but god does it come late. Until then, you're stuck with weird Low Kick and Karate Chop. Of course you get Return. You get Iron Tail for some reason. I guess because Mankey has a tail. Oh boy, you get Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, and Fire Punch. Honestly, I hate stacking everything into C, but it's like a lot of these Pokemon are like, they're fine. Now Machamp on the other hand, Machamp is like statistically superior to Primeape. Yeah, it has better stats. It gets Cross Chop slightly earlier. Yeah, Machamp even has more special attack than Primeape, so it is a better candidate for the elemental punches and things like Fire Blast, if you want to be quirky. It is a trait evolution, so like that does kind of limit it a bit, but still, I feel fine putting Machamp in B. Farfetch'd! I don't think I really need to justify that one. Girafarig. Oh, Girafarig isn't even in Crystal, excellent. Although I don't think we're really missing much here. I'm looking at the move pool. Like, okay, it gets good TM stuff, but like a lot of the good stuff is late game or post game. I feel like Girafarig is like a step up from these guys. Honestly, I think Girafarig is okay to put in C, because like, you can just go to the right after getting the 4th badge and get it. So like, you can technically get it after 4 badges. Kingdra! Where the hell do you even get a Dragon Scale? Mount Mortar. Okay, great. I love Mount Mortar. I hate Mount Mortar. I get a headache just thinking about trying to go through it. So okay, you get Water move of choice, you get Normal move of choice, you get Stab, Dragon Breath, you get a really good typing, pretty solid stat line. Kingdra, I think, is probably one of the better water types. Horsey, Whirl Islands. Okay, so you need to have beaten Price in order to get it. Yeah, I think Kingdra is fair to put in B. I think Lapras is better, plus Kingdra is also a trade evolution, so if you can't trade, you're just kinda SOL. Dugong. Before I look anything up about Dugong, I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna assume it's just, like, less better Lapras. So yeah, okay, it gets Ice Beam later than Lapras. Virtually all of its stats are worse than Lapras. Whirl Islands. Okay, so you have to travel Whirl Islands to get it. I'm putting it in C just to be mean. Like, why would you use it over Lapras other than just to be different? So, if you're playing Gold and Silver, you'd have access to Suicune by now, but if you're playing Crystal, you don't get Suicune until now, after 7 gyms. Okay, so in Crystal, Suicune's level up move pool gets a little bit of an overhaul, because in Gold and Silver it would have Roar at 21, but obviously you can't have Roar on a stationary legendary. So, Suicune gets Aurora Beam instead of Roar, which is discount Ice Beam. I don't feel super great about Suicune. Like, it's not a bad Pokemon, and it's definitely easier to catch in Crystal, but like, I don't know. I feel like just solid C tier, because it comes at a point where you already at least need something with Surf, and honestly it's probably going to be just either a I guess I probably shouldn't be too critical though, because the weird level curve, level 40, Pokemon basically for free is honestly not bad, but still screw you, it's going in C. Oh boy, Licky Tongue! I think that goes in D, and we can all agree with that. I should probably just make sure. I don't want to get too many angry comments on YouTube.com. Yeah, Licky Tongue. Boy, it sure does have a moveset. Okay, like, it gets Earthquake, it gets Shadow Ball, you get normal move of choice, you get Elemental Punches. I think D tier is justified for Lickitung. Tangela. Let's see, you're gonna miss out on Sleep Powder, which is probably like the biggest reason you use Tangela. Yeah, just it comes late. Its stats aren't bad, but it doesn't really get any moves to use. I think it's safe to put Tangela in D. Octillery! Octillery does learn, like, a bunch of neat moves, but A, they're kind of weak until you get to the post-game. B, it comes late, because I don't think you can access, what route is it? Route 44. I don't think you can access Route 44 until... Are you unable to access 44 until you defeat Team Rocket? I actually don't remember this. You can access the whole route and up through Blackthorn before Team Rocket. Only in Heart Gold, Soul Silver they changed it. Okay, so then that means you can get this stuff earlier than I thought. But still, these two, it's kind of like, why bother? This thing, on the other hand, you could then theoretically get, like, mid-game. Octillery feels very much like Jack of all trades, master of none. It gets a lot of stuff, but none of it is super powerful. I'm gonna put it in B, just because it gets a lot of stuff. It has more opportunities to access, like, super effective type matchups. Oh boy, Piloswine. Oh, okay, in Crystal, it learns Amnesia at level 70. I'm so glad Game Freak made that change. Yeah, I'm really not feeling this thing. Like, okay, it has 100 attack, but then you have to use your Earthquake TM on it because it gets no ground moves. And, the only other physical move it really gets is normal move of choice. Piloswine is just very, to me. I think I'd rather use it than the stuff in D tier, though, so I'm gonna put it in C tier. Delibird. No. Sneasel. Okay, so Sneasel is like a 1% encounter in Ice Path, so have fun looking for it, first off. Only in Crystal 2, right? I think Gold Silver it's post-game. Correct! Second off, it's a physically offensive Dark Ice type, which is about as good as a physical Water type. So, your options for moves are Slash, level 65 Metal Claw. Oh boy, you can use Shadow Ball. Okay, I guess that's something. It goes in C. Gligar, I think it's time to dog on Gligar's level up move pool. Look at this awesome and amazing level up move pool we got here. So, when you catch this thing, it's gonna have Quick Attack, Harden, Sand Attack, Poison Sting. Okay, it gets Sludge Bomb for some reason. Hold on! This thing doesn't get Earthquake. What the hell? Why does this thing not get Earthquake? It doesn't get any ground moves except for Sand Attack, but that doesn't count. It doesn't get any flying moves. Okay, I'm sorry. It gets Wing Attack as an egg move. Oh, okay. It gets Earthquake via an event. Pokemon Stadium 2 distribution. Whatever that is. It's just... why? Why did they treat you so poorly, Gligar? Why? The Skarmory. Oh boy, Skarmory gets Fury Attack at level 37. I'm so happy. Okay, this thing gets Drill Peck as an egg move. That's kind of based. Yeah, this is just a late-game, physically defensive flying type, because the Steel Wing is either a level 49 or a post-game TM, and that's all it gets for Steel moves. I think it just also goes into C, because it at least has decent stats. Dodrio! Dodrio's funny, because there's an in-game trade for it in Blackthorn. You have to give a female Dragonair, specifically, to get it. If you don't do that in-game trade, then you have to wait like 20 minutes and get it on Route 26 or 27 or whatever. Yeah, the problem with the in-game trade is you can't catch a Dragonair without a Super Rod, so you'd have to level up a Dratini. And really, at that point, I'd say just use Dragonite. So this thing is basically available right before Victory Road. And, yeah, in terms of moves, I mean, it gets good stuff. It gets Tri-Attack, it gets Drill Peck. It has decent stats. It's just, you get it so late. Like, why would you use it at that point? I'm gonna say C, just because if you're really desperate for something, Dodrio is probably the best thing to pick up. But, anyway, Dragonite. So, like, there's the whole Extreme Speed, Dratini, and Crystal, and whatnot, but the thing with Dragonite is, it doesn't evolve until level 55, and, like, you are probably not getting the 55 during the main game. Unless you, like, solo run, but you're not soloing with Dratini because you don't get it until the 8th gym. You're basically just stuck with Dragonair. And you get Dragonite for, like, the last couple gyms and red. Dragonair is usable, at least. So I think D is fair, because really, Dragonair stats are basically just Raticate. Rapidash, what does Rapidash even learn? Rapidash is sitting in the same boat as Dodrio in terms of availability. Oh boy, it gets Fire Blast at level 61. Yeah, okay, this thing is just a normal type without the normal type, basically, in terms of moves that it has at its disposal. Rapidash's stats aren't bad, but it just comes at a point in the game where it's between where it comes in the game and also the moves it has. It's just kind of a why. You get Ponyta at like level 32. So Ponyta you get at 32, so you have to level it up 8 times between Route 26 and Victory Road and the Pokemon League in order to get Rapidash. So, no thanks. Rhydon is literally in Victory Road. I don't know why you would pick this for a rock type or a ground type. Like, just use Golem. Even if you can't evolve it to Golem and you're stuck with Graveler, it's going to be at such a higher level than whatever level you find these things at in Victory Road. Like, really, come on. Okay, so now, that is every single Pokemon you can get during the main game in Gold, Silver, Crystal. The rest of these Pokemon here are only available during the post-game, or in some cases, not available at all. So, keeping in mind how I feel about the post-game, a lot of these Pokemon are honestly just basically kind of unusable. Like, okay, Kangaskhan, if you wanted to be funny, you could use it. Sure, it'll go in D. Virtual Console Crystal lets you get Celebi after the Elite Four. Is it the Elite Four, or is it all 16 badges? I could have sworn it was all 16 badges, but I might be misremembering that. So according to this, it's all 16 badges. Let's double check this on Bulbapedia. Interesting. So, well, it's kind of conflicting info, because, like, theoretically all you need is the GS ball, but then, unless they just added an extra thing, like, oh yeah, you can get the GS ball after 8 badges, but, or after entering the Hall of Fame, but in order to actually use it, you need the 16 badges. Like, yeah, okay. After obtaining the GS ball, player needs to take it to Kerr, who will analyze it for a day. After it has been analyzed and returned, Ilex force becomes restless, and the player must place it in the shrine, which will summon a level 30 Celebi. I don't know. That's weird. We'll worry about that later. For now, Aerodactyl. Does Aerodactyl get Rock Slide access in Gold, Silver, Crystal? No, it doesn't. Okay, Aerodactyl at least gets Earthquake. Oh boy. I'm basically kind of looking at Aerodactyl as a normal flying type without the normal type, and instead it's a rock type. Also, you need to catch a Chansey in order to get it. I'm putting it in D. Snorlax. I mean, Snorlax is always a solid Pokemon, and you can get it, like, decently early in the post-game, I guess. I mean, Snorlax is really, like, just probably one of the best Pokemon in Gen 2, honestly. I think just because it's so good, I'm willing to put it in C. But, like, you're barely gonna get any use out of this thing with how late it comes. Murkrow. Does Murkrow even get anything? Okay, so it comes at level 17 or 29. So, you know, winner right there when you're gonna be, like, level 50 plus. Yeah, this thing just it comes so late. It comes at such a low level. Honestly, why would you use this thing? Magcargo. Like, can we all just agree Magcargo goes into F so I can speed this along? Houndoom. So, Houndour comes at level 18. Great start. Houndoom gets good moves, and it has great stats. The problem is it comes in the post-game, and you get it at such a low level. So, like, why would you use this thing? I'll put it in D because it's at least one of the better post-game Pokemon, but, like, God, why? Why would you do this? Okay, next up is Porygon 2, which, so, it costs 5,555 coins to get. It's a trade evolution. It's in the post-game only. Like, Porygon 2 is honestly a pretty good Pokemon. Even before Eviolite, I totally use a Porygon 2. It's just such a pain in the ass to get. I'm also just gonna say F because, like, a lot of its good moves you have to dump more Game Corner coins into, like Thunderbolt and Ice Beam and stuff. on top of already having to spend a bunch of Game Corner coins to get it, and needing to trade to evolve it, because otherwise Porygon is just kind of stinky. Blissey. So, if for some reason you don't trade the Chansey that you definitely bothered to catch for an Aerodactyl, you can keep it and evolve it into Blissey. Now, Tyranitar. So, Larvitar costs 8,888 Game Corner coins, or you can catch one in Mount Silver, and then it evolves at level 55. Why would you do this? At all. Unless you're really, really bored. Okay, it actually comes to level 40 at the Game Corner. Okay, so that's not so terrible, but it's still kind of terrible. Like, come on. 8,888 Game Corner coins. Dugtrio. I honestly like Dugtrio, but it's post-game only. So, probably gonna put it in F, but I just want to double check. Oh boy, they gave it Tri-Attack in Crystal. Like, Dugtrio gets Earthquake via level up, but does that really matter when you're in the post-game? Either way, this doesn't really change my judgment of Dugtrio, which is just going to be F, I guess, because it really doesn't matter. Muck. Oh boy. So Lugia and Ho-Oh, in Crystal specifically, you don't get access to them until Pewter City, I believe, is when you can access them. Which, also you don't get access to their signature moves in Crystal, because, you know, screw you. I'm putting them in D because they're at least, like, they at least have really good stats, but, like, wait, Ho-Oh requires all the... Really? Tin Tower from a Sage after catching all 3 legendary beasts in Emerald Hall of Fame. What the hell? Okay, yeah. So Ho-Oh is just kind of stinkier than Lugia. Because I don't think Lugia has any dumb requirement like that. Mr. Mime? Why? Mischievous, you literally cannot get this thing until Mount Silver, which is literally the very, very, very end of the game. And it's nothing special. Alright, so if we scroll down here, these Pokemon require trading or events to get in the game, except for Celebi, if you're playing the Virtual Console version. And, I cannot figure out if you need the Hall of Fame, or if you need 16 badges to get Celebi. Either way, it's obtained at level 30, and, I will double check, but I don't think Celebi has exactly a great move pool. You get at level 30, so it's going to have Future Sight, Ancient Power, Safeguard, Heal Bell. And then it's going to get Baton Pass and Perish Song. So, if you want to have a Grass move, you're going to have to use Giga Drain or Solar Beam on it. If you want to have a Psychic type move, you're going to have to use Psychic on it. Other than that, it gets Shadow Ball, it gets Return. That's about it. Yeah, I don't think Celebi is really worth it, regardless of when you get it. So I'm just going to stick it in F. And as for the rest of these guys, since they require either trading or an event, you get F tier, you get F tier, you get F tier, everyone gets F tier! So, yeah, I stuck all the not fully evolved stuff and all the other unknown forms up here in this not fully evolved tier. So that is more or less what my Crystal in-game viability tier chart looks like. Not tier chart, tier list. Yeah, there's just so much stuff in C and D, and also F, just cause, honestly, there's just a lot of problems with Crystal and movesets, and also the TMs. They removed Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Flamethrower. That's honestly fairly crippling for a decent amount of things. Plus, the level curve is so weird. By the time you get in the Hall of Fame, you're probably going to be level 50 at most, and some of these Pokemon still get moves at like level 60, level 70, and it's like, dude, chill. It's just... It honestly kind of frustrates me sometimes, just how weirdly designed Crystal is. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you want to help the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, and make sure you subscribe. Check out what's on the screen for some more Pokemon content, too. A big thanks to Mithril Monarch, Lord McAfee, and the rest of my extra patient patrons for going the extra mile and financially supporting the channel. See you next time, everyone.